This is the Aston Martin DB7. Sleek, British, effortlessly cool. And in 1994, this wasn't just another car. This was Aston Martin's last shot, because at the time, they were basically finished. No money, tiny production, on the brink of disappearing completely.
Ford had bought Aston Martin in 1987, and they'd spent years watching them bleed money.
By the early 90s, patience had run out. Ford stepped in with an ultimatum: build something quickly and cheaply, and crucially, build it on a production line using whatever you can find in our parts bin. And what they came up with was this, the Aston Martin DB7. A car built from Jaguar parts, with Mazda and Ford bits inside, plus a supercharged 3.2 litre straight six, not a V8. Which, let's face it, sounds like a disaster. And yet, this car didn't just work, it saved Aston Martin.
So the question is this DB7 a proper Aston, or just a very good illusion? Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dipstick. I'm Jack Clancy, and this is episode 3 of They Gave Us the Keys. And today this is one I've been really looking forward to. Firstly, because I've never actually driven an Aston Martin before, and secondly, because this one sits in a slightly odd place. It's not modern Aston Martin, it's not old school Aston Martin, it's in this in-between phase where the brand was just trying to survive. And without this, we don't get the DB9, the Vantage, the DBS, none of it. So today we're going to get properly under the skin of this DB7 and see whether or not it deserves its place in history, or if it just got lucky.
So rewind to the early 90s, and Aston Martin's in trouble. They're making beautiful cars like the Virage, but they're still hand-beating panels over wooden bucks. It was slow, it was expensive, and they're only selling a handful per year. We're talking hundreds. That's not a car company, it's more like a hobby.
Ford realised that for Aston to survive, they needed to embrace mass production. So they moved out of the old workshop in Newport Pagnell and into a new, more modern facility in Bloxham. However, there was no budget for a clean sheet design.
There they took a rejected Jaguar prototype, sent it to a young Ian Callum, and told him to make it look like $1 million using a Ford parts bin and a Jaguar platform.
And somehow they absolutely nailed it. Because, well, look at it. It is undeniably beautiful. This is Ian Callum's breakout work, and it shows. It's elegant yet aggressive, it's special yet understated. And honestly, part this next to any modern Aston, I still think it holds its own. But then you start to look a little closer and the illusion starts to crack. Those door handles, Mazda MX-5. The wing mirrors, Citroen CX. The rear lights, they didn't even try and hide it. Straight off a Mazda 323F. And underneath all of this is the heavily reworked Jaguar XJS platform, a car that was already 20 years old when this thing launched. So on paper, it's basically Frankenstein's monster. Inside though is where it gets really interesting, because the moment you get in it, you really feel the Aston Martin side. The smell of expensive leather, the real wood, that genuine sense of occasion. It feels very special. Because it's based on that old Jaguar chassis, it is a little bit cramped in here, even though it's a big car on the outside. It's kind of like wearing a tight suit, but all that creates this weird contrast. It's half luxury Grand Tourer, half parts bin survival project. But honestly, that's kind of what makes this car cool. It reminds you that this wasn't built from a position of strength, but rather one of necessity. All right, let's drive it. This is the 3.2 litre supercharged straight six. And that's important because this is the original DB7. Before the V12 Vantage came along and stole all the headlines, this was the heart of the DB7. And straight away, it's not trying to be a sports car. It's soft, composed, relaxed. You sit low, that long bonnet just stretching out in front of you, and it just glides. It is a proper Grand Tourer. It's a car for crossing Europe, not chasing down lap times. But when you put your foot down, you get that whine of the supercharger building in the background. It's a Jaguar engine, but it's got a heavy dose of Aston character, and it gives it just enough urgency. It's not explosive, it's not dramatic, but it's smooth and effortless. And that suits the whole character of the car, because this isn't about aggression, it's about presence. If I had criticisms of this car, it would be as follows. The 4-speed GM automatic gearbox is, well, leisurely. It takes its time.
And the steering is a bit vague. If you push it into a corner, you can kind of feel that old XJS platform leaning. If you're expecting the sharpness of a DB9,
you're going to be disappointed.
But I think that kind of misses the point. This car wasn't built to be the fastest in the world. It was built to keep the lights on. And when you look at it like that, everything starts to make sense. The compromises, the shared parts, the slightly confused identity. Because without those things, this car doesn't exist. Without this car, Aston Martin doesn't exist either. Because this car sold in numbers that Aston Martin had never seen before. It brought them back from the edge. So is the DB7 a real Aston Martin, or is it just a Jaguar in a very expensive Savile Row suit? Honestly, it's kind of both. Yes, it's flawed, yes, it's a bit of a patchwork, but it's also undeniably beautiful, and it is fantastic to cruise around in. It's still an Aston Martin. I certainly wouldn't be sad if I had one of these on my front drive. That's if I had a front drive. So sure, it might not be the purest Aston ever made, but it just might be one of the most important. Sometimes that can actually matter a lot more. I'm Jack Clancy, this is Dipstick. Thanks very much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.